Welcome back. As Faith had mentioned, a theatric treat. Bloke and his American Bantu is once again back in Johannesburg. The play, which is based on the lives of Bloke, Modisane and Langston Hughes, reimagines the transatlantic camaraderie that bridged the gap between Harlem and Sophiatown in the 1960s. For more on this, we are joined now by the writer Uspiwe Mahala. Of course, unfortunately, we're supposed to have Salomake Kancube, but as you can understand, the road closures happening in and around Johannesburg is most likely still battling with that. But fortunately, we have the man that is the brains trust behind all of this. Mr. Mahala, thank you so much for joining us. It's back again in theaters, and, you know, I would imagine it's because, how do they put it? Demand.
Yeah,
you know, backed by popular demand. There are those that felt like they didn't get an opportunity to go out and see it. It was maybe there for a short time, but let's just maybe start with that. The reasons you guys have brought it back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it is good for me because the play returned from Edinburgh in August, where it got a 4-star rating. I wasn't there personally. Langston Kancube, who's the director, and the rest of the crew had that moment experienced it. So it's really exciting that it is back on stage. The play itself has traveled a bit in the country. It went to the National Arts Festival in Makanda. It had a season at the State Theatre. But after every season, there's always demand for it to come back. So we're fortunate to be selected by Arts Alive to be one of the headliners for the festival.
We've had the pleasure of previewing Bloke and the American Bantu with Salomake Kancube. He was here in studio with us, and he was just sharing his excitement about the work, and the theatrical piece itself. Just for those that unfortunately didn't have the opportunity to catch that interview and are looking for something to do in terms of like going out to watch theater, just explain to us the thought behind Bloke and the American Bantu, what it's about in depth.
Yeah, well, first of all, in 2012, I came across letters between Bloke Modisane and Langston Hughes. I mean, the highly respected American poet. And, I found out that between 1960 and 1967, they exchanged over 50 letters. So they had this camaraderie, they had this very close friendship, that extended to cultural exchange and international solidarity. They had this growing network of friends, the likes of Miriam Makeba, Maya Angelou, and many other icons whom we never even thought actually had met. So it was quite exciting for me, and I could imagine this unfolding on stage. And the best person to speak to was Brasilo, because we had collaborated before. Yeah. I had written a play in which he starred, and I understand how he connects with the script, with the story. So he was the best person for me to direct the play. And really, you get, the actors, Anele Nene and Dos Mulele, really breathe life to this story, to the characters. And that's exactly what I was looking for. And I think the reviews, basically, in the world, I think that there are two aspects to what they are saying. They appreciate the artistic, rendition of it, but also the historical part that was not very well known is quite exciting, which connects South Africa and America. Yeah.
Brasilo is an icon of small screen as well, not just theatre. Why was the inspiration to put this on a theatre stage, as opposed to maybe small screen? Because I can imagine, you do have platforms like Netflix that I'm sure would have maybe jumped at an idea like this.
Well, I think it has to do more with my own artistic training, because I could just imagine this unfolding on stage, because you have these two guys who are intimately connected, who really love each other. You have two men who love each other without any reservations, who are there for each other, at good times and in bad times. And I felt like, this could unfold easily on stage. Well, of course, since it was performed the first time, there has been a call for it to put it on screen. And I think that would take a life of its own, because, works of this kind tend to evolve, and it would be fantastic to see it on stage, on screen someday.
Mr. Mahala, if there's one thing South African creatives will never be short of, is content, something to inspire them to put works on stage, on small screen, on big screen. And I speak, of course, of our history as South Africa. We've got such a sad but rich history that creatives can feed off of and put forward. Why was it important for you to put this piece of South African history on stage?
Well, first of all, the story itself, pays tribute to the role of cultural workers in the fight against apartheid, on the one hand, but on the other, it shows the international solidarity that was developed through the arts. And I think that's an aspect of our history that is not very well celebrated. It is normal to wax lyrical about the role of politicians. But the reality is South Africa's freedom was not won on the battlefront. It was through the work of artists, intellectuals that, who traveled across the world to mobilize against the apartheid regime. And that is exactly what we see in the play, because in 1963, Bloke Modisane did a series of lectures across the United States of America, telling them what was happening in South Africa. And that created awareness and thus so much solidarity against apartheid. So next year, 2023, is such a significant year for this play, especially because on the one hand, Bloke Modisane would have turned 100, and on the other is the 60th anniversary of that lecture tour that changed the cultural outlook in the world. Yeah.
Is this an appeal from you to creatives such as yourself to not put works only speaking to politicians and maybe even student activists only? Because we hear a lot about what politicians did, what student activists did, but like you say, we don't hear a lot about what the creatives did. What Miriam Makeba did, what Ndade Hughes did, what Ndade Bloke Modisane did, and the likes. Are you asking then for creatives who do what you do to maybe share a bit of what the creatives did as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We cannot undermine the role of intellectuals and cultural workers. You just made mention of Miriam Makeba. Shortly after Bloke Modisane did that American tour in 1963, Miriam Makeba addressed the UN. Yeah. And by the way, Miriam Makeba first got well known in the world through her role in Comeback Africa, for which Bloke Modisane had writing credits. So it was while promoting Comeback Africa that people like Belafonte got noticed Miriam Makeba. So there are so many dots you can connect about the role of cultural workers in mobilizing and ensuring that there's international solidarity against the apartheid regime.
Just before I let you go, Mr. Mahala, details. Where are we seeing Bloke and the American Bantu? How long are we seeing it?
Bloke and American Bantu is back on stage at the Keorapetse Theatre at the University of Joburg from the 2nd to the 4th of December. It's a Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday. Friday and Saturday, it starts at 7 o'clock in the evening. And then on Sunday, it will be in the afternoon, starting at 2 o'clock.
Thank you very much, sir, and all the best with the next round of Bloke and the American Bantu. And I think a lot of people will be glad to have it back, those that may not have been able to see it. But thank you so much for joining us in studio. That, of course, is the writer of Bloke and the American Bantu. Of course, it is being the lead of the theatre production itself is also by the director, who is Braselo Make Ganube. Again, it's in UJ, of course, and it's happening between the 2nd and the 4th of December.